Welcome back to the deep dive. We are cutting through all the noise today, really digging into let's call it the strategic blueprint of a corporate ambush that seems to have gone, well, spectacularly wrong. We're plunging right into the high-stakes world of Genoa City. Think corporate warfare, deep-seated emotional vendettas, and this complex, definitely illegal tech scheme. It was meant to completely reshape the balance of power between the Newans and the Abbotts. This is what we're calling the Genoa City Gambit. And today we're focusing specifically on, that massive gamble Billy Abbott took, plus Victor Newman's preemptive countermove and all the explosive fallout we're expecting to see unfold this coming week, September 22nd through the 26th. We've gone through a whole stack of sources here, and they give some pretty incredible insight into the motives, the betrayals, and frankly, the strategic failures behind what was supposed to be this ultimate corporate takedown.
Right. And our mission here in this deep dive, it's strictly analytical. We really need to dissect the central failure points of this alliance between Billy Abbott and Kane Ashby. We need to talk about the weapon they have, this supposedly devastating AI, but grounded in real terms of corporate espionage, and maybe figure out why Victor Newman is acting so supremely confident in his defense, even though he apparently knows about this huge digital threat aimed right at him. We're hunting for those nuggets of knowledge, you could say, that expose the cracks in this whole plan before the first shot was even really fired.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack all of that. It's some high-octane drama for sure. Let's start right at the beginning. That moment, Billy decided to, well, cross the Rubicon, didn't he? With this really ill-advised partnership, solidified over a terrible, terrible idea. Okay, so the sources, they really pinpoint the start of this final phase, let's call it, of the disastrous collaboration to Wednesday, September 17th. You've got Billy Abbott and Kane Ashby joining forces. But what's immediately clear right off the bat is that Billy, the supposedly aggressive one, he was hesitant. He had second thoughts almost immediately.
He did. And the hesitation wasn't, corporate strategy or legal worries. No, it was entirely personal. It all stemmed from Sally Spectra.
That's the first huge red flag, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It tells you almost everything you need to know about why this whole plot eventually fails. Sally, she's done her fair share of corporate maneuvering herself, right? But here, she's the unexpected voice of caution. She saw this AI scheme for exactly what it was. The sources actually quote her calling it dodgy and, of course, illegal. For Sally Spectra to label something illegal, well, the moral bar here is set extremely low.
Yeah, that's saying something. It kind of sets Sally up as the unlikely moral compass in all this, which, looking back, was a massive strategic blunder on Billy's part.
Huge blunder.
But Kane, he's a different story. He's like a seasoned manipulator. And the sources say he didn't use logic to get Billy fully on board. No, he went straight for Billy's specific psychological weak spot.
That's right. The sources specifically state Kane successfully pushed Billy's gambler button.
Gambler buttons. Let's pause on that for a second.
Yeah, we should. Because that phrase, that's the real key insight into Kane's strategy here. He didn't offer Billy, a calculated risk assessment or some reasonable business proposition. No. He offered the thrill of high-stakes destruction, the perceived rush of finally getting one over on Victor Newman. Yeah. And Billy's whole history, which, let's face it, you listeners know well, it's just defined by his addiction to impulse, to self-destructive risk-taking.
He can't help himself.
Exactly. Kane exploited that perfectly. He chose this unstable partner because Billy was unstable, not in spite of it. He knew exactly which buttons to push.
Wow. And once Kane triggers that impulsivity, you see Billy's entire internal compass just shift. He completely dismisses Sally's very legitimate moral and legal concerns. He just says, okay, I guess Sally will come around.
Just like that. He instantly minimizes the one person who's actually trying to save him from himself. And right there, he sets the stage for the deception that ultimately costs him pretty much everything.
So the commitment's secured, shaky as it is. Then they move on to the terms of the deal. And this is where Billy, despite all that impulsivity, introduces this strange, almost calculated element of risk sharing.
It is strange, isn't it? Billy's non-negotiable demand was that he gets Chancellor once the dust settles. So he wasn't just in it for the revenge, you see. He wanted the corporate prize, too.
Right, but the really bizarre part, the part that makes you scratch your head, involves the paperwork. Kane, thinking practically, warned Billy against putting any illegal activities down in writing. That's basic corporate espionage 101, right? Less evidence, the better.
Absolutely. That warning from Kane is purely pragmatic, sensible even. But Billy insisted. He insisted on both their names being on whatever agreement they made, so they are, quote, equally at risk.
Equally at risk. What does that tell you?
Well, this is that little nugget of knowledge, right? It reveals Billy's fundamental distrust of Kane. He knows Kane is the manipulator here, the one bringing the illegal tech to the table. And Billy refuses, absolutely refuses, to be the only one left holding the bag if, or more likely when, the whole thing blows up in their faces. So this wasn't really about winning Chancellor cleanly. It was about ensuring a kind of codependency in the potential criminal fallout.
It's like an insurance policy written with criminal intent, as you put it earlier. Doesn't make him innocent, obviously, but it makes sure Kane can't just vanish and leave Billy with this corporate AI weapon.
Exactly. But even as they're sort of hammering out this toxic agreement, you see the conflicting motivations bubbling right up to the surface. Kane, for instance, expresses massive nervousness about Billy's, quote, emotional vendetta against Victor.
He sees the danger there.
He absolutely recognizes the fundamental flaw in his partner. Billy's emotional drive, his need for revenge against Victor, will always override any kind of rational business ambition. Kane's playing for money, for corporate control. Billy, he's playing out decades of familial trauma and a desperate need for vengeance.
That difference is huge.
It's incredibly dangerous because if Billy gets angry enough or feels cornered enough, he might just bypass Kane's whole strategy and just try to burn everything down, including himself.
And Kane's second worry, it's even more spot on, really. It shows he actually has a better read on the personal dynamics than Billy does. He specifically worries that Sally might betray them. He starts questioning if working with Billy is a mistake because of Sally.
Yeah, and that worry is completely founded on Sally's character, isn't it? She's driven by loyalty, sure, but also by a desire for some kind of stability. And this AI scheme, it fundamentally threatens both of those things for her. Kane sees the risk that Sally's loyalty to Billy might actually make her loyal to the law, or at least loyal to the idea of saving Billy from destroying himself.
But Billy, in his classic, almost arrogant style, just dismisses it all, doesn't he? His promise is just empty. He says, get me the AI and we'll take down Newman Enterprises. Don't worry about Sally. She won't make any trouble.
Famous last words.
Exactly. That promise is literally revoked within, 48 hours? It proves Kane's initial concerns were completely, totally valid. Okay, so now we have to pivot to the direct consequence of that hollow promise, Sally's reaction, and what she does next.
Right. So the sources indicate this whole high-stakes corporate gambit. It really starts to unravel the second Sally Spectre shows up at the Abbott mansion. She's looking for Jack, but she finds Diane Jenkins first. And it's clear Sally isn't there for business. She's there staging an intervention.
She cuts right to the chase, doesn't she? Confirms Billy is making a huge mistake. And the sources make a really crucial clarification here. Diane, initially, she suspects Sally's there maybe fishing for Jack to reinvest in Abbott.com, save the business. But Sally shuts that down completely. Cold, she explicitly states, I just want Billy saved.
And that is the critical strategic pivot point. Sally's objective here is purely emotional, purely protective. She's risked her reputation, her corporate capital, her stability, everything for Billy. And now she sees him just throwing it all away for some, personal vendetta against Victor. She realizes she's losing the man she sacrificed everything for, and that, for her, is a far greater loss than any failed business venture could ever be.
So when she finally gets to meet with Jack, the whole story just spills out the full scope of the plot. She confirms Kane is planning something illegal, and that Billy, because he's the front man, he'll be the one caught with, quote, dirty hands. She's trying, even then, to position Billy as maybe the unwitting victim of Kane's manipulation.
And then the weapon itself is revealed. Kane has an AI that Sally says can ruin companies. Now, let's just pause and ground this technical threat for a moment. This isn't just, insider trading or cooking the books.
Well, this sounds way bigger.
Oh, it is. Jack is appalled, and he should be. If we really analyze what a company ruining AI actually means in the context of corporate espionage, we're likely looking at full-blown digital warfare. This AI probably specializes in things like algorithmic market manipulation on a massive scale, or systemic data corruption across all accounting platforms. Or, maybe even more rapidly destructive, a campaign of deep fake videos or audio designed to instantly collapse investor confidence, ruin reputations overnight.
Wow.
Yeah, this is, as Jack basically implies, it's like corporate terrorism. It's designed to destabilize and destroy, not just compete.
That distinction is absolutely vital, isn't it? It's not about making a quick buck, it's about total annihilation. But what's truly fascinating and kind of twisted is the specific deployment strategy that Sally reveals. She clarifies Billy's actual intent. His main target is getting Chancellor, sure, but his specific plan is not to immediately unleash this AI.
No, and this is where the real genius, or maybe the ultimate psychological manipulation, comes in. The threat of the AI is the weapon itself. Billy's plan is to blackmail Victor Newman. Use the threat of unleashing this digital monster to force Victor to just hand over Chancellor and, crucially, to fund Abidcom again.
Ah, so it's like a clean extraction, or that's what Billy hopes.
Exactly. It allows him, in theory, to avoid the incredible messiness and potential blowback of actually deploying this destructive AI, while at the same time achieving both his goals. The revenge part, taking Chancellor from Victor and securing his personal stability by saving Abidcom, presumably for Sally.
He's basically trying to use the AI as a kind of nuclear deterrent, hold it over Victor's head.
Precisely. But just as Sally is laying out this blackmail strategy to Jack, Jack drops the bomb. He reveals the core lie that just absolutely destroys Billy's personal standing with Sally.
Right. Jack reveals that Billy was the one who insisted Jack take back the funding money. Billy effectively killed Abidcom funding himself.
Can you imagine the look on Sally's face? The sources say she is just utterly disgusted. And why wouldn't she be? She risked everything, burned bridges with the Newmans, all to support Abidcom, believing Billy was fighting this noble fight for her, for their future. And then she realizes Billy flat out lied to her, manipulated her, basically, to try and gain her passive consent for working with Kane. He probably figured if the funding was already gone, she might be desperate enough to tolerate this high-risk, illegal scheme.
Oh, that's low. He didn't just sabotage the business. He completely betrayed the trust she placed in him. As the sources put it, Sally risked everything, and now Billy has basically ruined her life, both personally and professionally. That betrayal, that's the actual fuse that lights the explosion under this whole plan.
And you really see the emotional toll this takes on Jack, too. The sources suggest Jack is just very tired of trying to talk sense into Billy over the years because he never listens. This sense of familial fatigue, it's actually a strategic vulnerability for the whole added family, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Jack is so worn out by the constant pattern of Billy's self-sabotage that his advice to Sally is just cold and practical. Just cut bait and run. He knows, in that moment, Billy is probably beyond reasoning with, and the only person Sally can realistically save is herself.
And that advice, cut bait and run, that's the moment the intelligence operation effectively begins, right? Jack now knows Sally is leaving him, but more importantly, he now has the critical intel, the AI, the blackmail plot against Victor. This information is now live, it's in play, and it's about to completely change the entire chessboard.
Yeah, exactly. So while the Abbotts are basically in crisis mode, dealing with Billy's latest self-immolation, Victor Newman, well, he's already operating several steps ahead, likely fueled by intelligence gathering. The sources confirm Victor is openly bragging, maybe not to everyone, but bragging about taking down Billy, Kane, and maybe even Jack all at once.
Wow. That's not just confidence. That sounds like hubris built on knowing something others don't.
It absolutely is. But the crucial thing about Victor, and you see this time and again, is his operational security. He is playing his cards, as the source says, close to his vest. He refuses to give specific details or agree to joint strategies, even with his most trusted advisors, like Nikki. Victor thrives on operating in isolation, probably believing that the moment a plan is shared, it's somehow compromised.
Which serves two purposes, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. First, it ensures the plan's integrity, or at least he believes it does. And second, it constantly reinforces his image as the solitary, all-powerful mastermind pulling the strings in Genoa City. But this style, this secrecy, it immediately clashes with a desire for unity, particularly coming from Nikki.
Right. So while Victor's being smug and secretive, Jack, still reeling from Sally's revelations, he meets with Nikki Newman. He tells her, look, Abidcom is dead, and worse, Kane and Billy might be coming after Chancellor now. And he expresses this deep personal hatred that Kane has, quote, gotten his hooks into Billy again. This isn't just corporate rivalry talk. It sounds like an appeal to Nikki to help save a family member, someone they both care about on some level.
And the atmosphere immediately gets tense. Victor finds them talking, and he issues this chilling warning directly to Jack, saying something like, big trouble's about to hit him. Victor's basically signaling, I know it's coming, and you, Jack, might be collateral damage because of your brother's actions. This is the moment Nikki realizes just how severe the situation truly is.
And Nikki, who always tries to be the advocate for peace and stability between the families, she pushes back hard. She demands to know what Victor's threat meant. She insists the Abbotts and Newmans need to unite against Kane. She correctly identifies Kane as this, external disease threatening both their family empires.
Makes perfect sense from her perspective. But Victor just refuses the plea for unity. He won't tell Nikki the specifics of Kane's plot, but he just smugly insists he has Kane under control. He does admit Kane has a weapon, clearly referencing the AI, but he dismisses the alliance with Phyllis Summers and Billy as foolish. Victor seems absolutely certain he can defeat them all alone.
Okay, this detail is everything, isn't it? Victor's confidence isn't based on ignorance, it's based on foreknowledge. He knows about the AI, he knows about the potential for digital annihilation.
Exactly.
So this raises a key strategic question, doesn't it? Did Sally's information somehow get to Victor, maybe through an intermediary? Perhaps Nikki relayed some kind of partial warning, or, and this is maybe more Victor style, does he already have a deep asset embedded somewhere inside Kane's operation?
Either possibility is chilling. But either way, the core blackmail threat has been completely neutered before it's even delivered. Billy's entire plan relied on surprising Victor, making him fearful enough to concede Chancellor quickly to avoid the AI threat. But since Victor already has the knowledge, he can act before the blackmail demand is even formally made. He can convert this situation from what should have been an immediate crisis into, for him, a controlled, predictable cleanup operation. He knows exactly what's in the box, and he's clearly already taken precautions. The element of surprise is gone.
Yeah, the game changed before Billy even knew it. The sources do confirm the complexity of the forces Kane was trying to muster, though. That strategy meeting he attempts to pull together on Friday, September 19th, it was supposed to include Phyllis, Billy, Amanda Sinclair, the Legal Eagle, and maybe even Michael Baldwin or Holden Novak. It shows Kane was trying to assemble the necessary legal and corporate firepower to execute this clean takeover backed by a very dirty criminal threat.
He was trying to build a coalition, yeah. But the sources also confirm the immediate backfire. By the end of that week, things are definitively not going as Billy is hoping and planning. His brilliant Victor blackmail plan may backfire, forcing him to pivot. This rapid failure confirms that the leak Sally's decision to talk to Jack was immediate and devastatingly effective. It strategically sank the entire operation.
So now Kane's got all the risk, maybe sharing some on paper with Billy, but the core strategic element surprise is completely gone.
Totally gone. Which forces Jack to his absolute last familial resort, Victoria Newman. Since Billy clearly won't listen to him, his own brother Jack thinks maybe, just maybe, Victoria has a chance to talk some sense into Billy, given their incredibly complicated, intertwined history.
And Victoria, she actually has a double incentive to step in here, doesn't she?
She absolutely does. First, as the sources point out, she has an incentive to stop Billy purely from a business perspective. She doesn't want him coming after Chancellor while her mother, Nikki, is running it. That's just basic corporate defense, protecting family assets. But second, there's always that undercurrent with Billy, isn't there? That residual connection, maybe even a desire to protect him from his own worst self-destructive impulses. So Victoria stepping in potentially moves this conflict from just a straightforward corporate takeover attempt into a much more complex, messy domestic intervention.
And it just proves, once again, that in Genoa City, personal relationships, betrayals, loyalties, they're always the most powerful factors driving corporate success, or in this case, spectacular failure.
Absolutely. The failure wasn't really a corporate miscalculation in the end. It was a personal betrayal that triggered a devastatingly effective intelligence leak. Okay, so as we look ahead to the actual week starting September 22nd, the sources confirm the tension is just absolutely boiling over. Victoria is going to seriously consider intervening, just as Jack asked her to, which means we're likely going to see her grapple with that conflict, her family loyalty to Victor versus whatever residual connection or concern she still has for Billy. That's going to be interesting to watch.
Oh, definitely. But the most immediate, most visceral fallout, it's going to be personal. The sources say Billy is going to be absolutely furious when he finds out Sally went and told Jack and Diane what he and Kane were plotting.
And that fury, it really confirms how Billy viewed Sally in this situation, doesn't it? Not as an equal partner, not as a loving confidant he could trust, but more like an asset whose silence was just required for his operation to succeed.
Yeah, that's harsh, and it sets up this huge interpersonal conflict, right? What happens next between them?
Will Billy, in a fit of self-righteous rage, just finalize their split, blaming her for his plan failing?
Or will Sally finally take Jack's cold, calculated advice, that cut bait and run advice? Will she just walk away for good, deciding she's had enough? The sources even suggest that if Sally does leave, Kane might soon be all that Billy has left.
Oof, that's a dangerous place for Billy to be. Completely unmoored with only Kane the manipulator as his guide. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
A total disaster waiting to happen.
No.
And Kane, meanwhile, he apparently suffers professionally because Sally was honest, which ironically validates Kane's initial fear about her involvement, right?
Right. He was worried she'd betray them. Exactly. The sources indicate he might suffer some kind of work-related setback because of Sally spilling the beans. He's still trying to maintain his smooth operator facade, apparently still pursuing Lily Winters, playing the charming businessman. But his professional stability is now hanging by a thread. And you can directly link his increased risk exposure back to his messy personal dealings with Billy and Sally.
And just to confirm, Victor's reaction is exactly what we anticipated.
Yep, the sources confirm Victor is obviously not going to bend to blackmail. Why would he? The fear factor is gone because the threat is known. Billy's leverage disappeared the moment Jack knew. The blackmail plan is dead on arrival.
So, okay, the blackmail failed, but what's the absolute worst-case scenario now? Victor's smug, yes, but Kane and Billy, they still possess this dangerous AI weapon. The sources actually warn that they might be more formidable together than he realizes if they do unleash the AI and if they have nothing else to lose.
And this is the nuclear option, isn't it? If the clean blackmail attempt fails, which it has, what's left for them to protect? Probably no corporate stability in the near future. Billy has likely alienated Sally, perhaps for good. So if they feel they have nothing left to lose, unleashing the AI means shifting completely from strategic extraction to pure chaotic destruction.
What would that even look like?
It could be brutal. Immediate sustained attacks on Newman Enterprises' stock value through algorithmic trading. Maybe disrupting their global supply chains using targeted hacks, or even targeting the personal wealth and reputation of the Newman family members directly using sophisticated digital means like deepfakes or financial system interference. The AI, once deployed without a clear, containable objective like blackmail, becomes this kind of decentralized, unpredictable threat. And even Victor might struggle to contain that immediately, simply because the speed of digital destruction can easily outpace the speed of any analog human response. It could get very ugly very fast.
Wow. Okay, so while this huge chancellor crisis is dominating everything, the corporate tremors from Billy's instability are causing these smaller but still important secondary storylines to converge throughout Genoa City. Let's touch on those quickly. What about Mariah and Daniel?
Yeah, this storyline reveals a really interesting, kind of subtle strategic move, possibly based on personal vulnerability. So on Thursday, September 18th, Mariah Copeland and Daniel Romalotti meet secretly in the park. Apparently it's behind Tessa Porter's back, because Daniel confirms he didn't tell Tessa about it. Mariah says she's leaving town for a bit, needs to get her head on straight, framing it as self-care, But the move that follows is key. She asks Daniel specifically to check on Tessa and their baby, Araya, while she's away.
That sounds like classic proximity breeding possibility, doesn't it? She's leaving town, supposedly to get space, but she's strategically placing Daniel, who is obviously an attractive, sympathetic figure, and maybe has his own feelings involved directly into her family unit as a caretaker.
It really does. It suggests that while Mariah might genuinely need space, she's also kind of ensuring her place, perhaps subconsciously, by establishing this pattern of dependence on Daniel, while simultaneously confirming his secret interest in her family dynamic. He agreed to keep the meeting secret, after all.
And it creates this fascinating ethical tightrope for Daniel to walk, doesn't it? He's now officially keeping a secret from Tessa, while also being her sort of appointed caretaker during Mariah's absence. That creates instant tension for you, the listener, that goes way deeper than just, oh, they met in a park.
Definitely more complex. Then we have the rapid career implosion of Audra Charles. And this is a direct consequence of the instability Billy injected into Abbottcom.
Right, she got caught in crossfire.
Totally. Audra is losing ground fast. She now has, quote, no job at Abbottcom, thanks to Billy and Jack cleaning house after the funding disaster. Her own corporate gamble, hitching her wagon to Abbottcom, failed spectacularly. She finds herself professionally ruined, basically collateral damage in the ongoing Abbott-Newman wars. And the sources indicate she might be running right back to Nate Hastings, realizing she has absolutely nothing left and maybe begging him to take her back. It just demonstrates that immediate corporate fallout, the smaller fish often get crushed when the big sharks start fighting. Audra's desperately seeking a safe harbor, and Nate, well, given his own history of questionable ethics, might actually be susceptible to that kind of appeal from her.
Yeah, could be. And finally, just a brief look at two sort of quieter, but maybe no less important personal triangles playing out.
Right. First, we have Claire Grace Newman apparently considering what to do about Kyle Abbott. The sources suggest she might talk to Holden Novak, who's being positioned more as the straightforward, good guy alternative. Maybe better than Kyle in her eyes.
The classic morality triangle setup.
Exactly. Holden serves as the potential ethical anchor compared to Kyle's more complex, sometimes morally gray character. It suggests Claire might be looking for stability and genuine goodness after her own very dramatic re-entry into Genoa city life. She's maybe reassessing what she wants.
Makes sense. And a final little nod to life continuing amidst all the corporate chaos.
Yes, thankfully. Lauren Fenmore is apparently eager to impress Christine Williams, and the sources say it's obviously about the wedding. So, a welcome little moment of normal life, personal planning happening amidst all the impending corporate destruction. It's a nice contrast. Hashtag tag take out outro.
Okay, let's try and synthesize the central failure points of this whole Genoa city gambit. It really seems like the plan was doomed from the very start, doesn't it? And not really because of Victor's superior firepower, but almost entirely because of Billy's emotional recklessness and, crucially, his devastating error in lying to Sally.
I think that's exactly right. The initial error was both emotional and strategic. Kane, yes, he expertly played on Billy's deep-seated desire for vengeance, pushed those gambler buttons perfectly. However, Billy's weird insistence on that written agreement, while legally pretty stupid, it might actually be the only thing ensuring Kane has to share some of the risk when the legal hammer inevitably drops. It shows Billy wasn't entirely blind to Kane's manipulation, maybe just chose to ignore it.
But the fatal mistake, the one that really sunk the whole ship, was personal. Billy alienated and betrayed the person who was arguably his strongest corporate ally and his main emotional advocate, Sally. He did that by lying about the Avitcom funding. And that deeply personal betrayal, that's what triggered the intelligence leak to Jack, which, we assume, quickly reached Victor, completely sinking the scheme before that AI weapon even needed to be booted up.
And this really is the core takeaway for you, the listener, from this whole saga. Information, timely and accurate, is still the most potent weapon in Genoa City. Sally's conscience, combined with Jack's strategic sense once he had the intel, completely neutralized a potentially devastating digital threat. Corporate terrorism, basically.
Yeah.
Victor's ironclad control, his ability to preemptively counter a known threat, that was only possible because of Billy's profound personal failure.
So the gambit failed before it began. Billy's going to be furious, probably losing the person he claims to care about most. And Victor will be standing tall, smugly aware of the full extent of the threat he just dodged.
Which raises that final provocative thought for you to mull over. If Victor already has Kane and the AI threat essentially under control, and he knows the blackmail weapon is off the table, what extreme measure would actually be required to truly destabilize someone like Victor Newman? Is there anything? And perhaps more immediately relevant, is Billy Abbott, now fueled by this profound failure, potentially having alienated Sally and feeling like he has nothing else to lose, is he reckless enough to abandon strategy altogether? Is he desperate enough to just push the button and activate the nuclear option anyway? The world of Genoa City is about to find out if Billy chooses to pivot and find a new angle, or if he simply chooses to detonate.
We'll have to wait and see. Until next time, stay well informed.